We all have stories. Stories inspired by culture, competition, creativity. Stories show our humanity. They inspire us to greatness and remind us to be humble. Stories connect us to our communities and the rest of the world. We are the Chutta people, and these are our stories. See and share them at togetherwe'remore.com.
People don't know what it is to be champions. Oklahoma invented it.
And Brady leaves the moment. Hello, guys. Welcome to Through the Keyhole. Joining us, as always, myself, Peyton Guthrie, Brady, and Matt.
Whoa.
On that side.
Whoa. Sorry about that.
You're back.
I had some interlopers at the driveway because the ring camera was going off, and there was just two people chilling in the driveway. So that was fun. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Through the Keyhole. Sorry about that, boys. Oh, 1 second.
Anyway, welcome to Through the Keyhole. I want to say thank you to our title sponsor, the Choctaw Nation, Oklahoma. You saw the ad spot come on the top of the show. Thank you guys so much for them. Go check them out over at togetherormore.com.
Whoa.
Uh-oh.
Did we lose Peyton?
Yeah, we sure did.
Oh, God.
This is off to a great start.
No, it's going off great.
So we need to just re-rack, maybe. Just maybe re-rack.
Well, let me at least finish up the intro. So togetherwe'remore.com, shout out to the Choctaw Nation. Thank you all for continuing to be the title sponsor Through the Keyhole. Did he already do home field, Matt? Did we already get that far?
No, we did not get that far at all.
We did not get that far, but you got to go check out homefieldapparel.com. It's the official apparel sponsor of Through the Keyhole. So if you want to look your best for the big Friday night game against Alabama, go do that. You only have a few handful of days left, and it's the holidays. And so sometimes delivering stuff can take a little bit longer than normal. So get your orders in quickly now. But yeah, that was fun. I always love when people just hang out in my driveway. Just like, who the hell are you?
That's very strange. Yeah. What are you guys doing here?
Like, stop. Why?
Who do you know here?
We have insanely passionate listeners here at Through the Keyhole, and I greatly appreciate that. But when the actual recording of the show is going on, we're gonna need people to just be like, no, like, you gotta be patient. If you want to watch live, if you want to listen live, you can be a patron, because that's what the patrons are doing right now, that are wanting to jump on the live stream. But of course, you don't have to. You can always be patient and wait for this thing to drop on our YouTube channel at Keyhole Sports on YouTube to watch it. And of course, to listen to it there, or as well as a podcast. So everyone's patient. But we got Peyton back. Peyton.
Yeah, no, I was just doing a really, really great intro to the podcast, and I realized no one else was moving. So I don't know how much of my voice came on there, but
I picked it up.
Thank you to everybody.
I picked it up where you left off, or where you cut off, and it was the togetherwe'remore.com.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, and also don't forget, we're dangerously close to 100 ratings on Spotify. I think we're at 83 or 84. So if you've not done so, please leave us a 5-star rating on Spotify, and then leave us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. We are still quite comfortably the third highest rated OU podcast out there. And that is, of course, under Unofficial 40 and Oklahoma Breakdown, because again, all the rest of us, everybody else, all the other OU podcasts you listen to, we're just swimming for third. And that's fine. We would love to be third. And don't forget Spotify comments. I've been bad with the Spotify comments. We've had some in the last few weeks. Thank you to those who left us some very nice Happy Thanksgiving comments and well wishes a few weeks ago. We really appreciate that. So thank you for that. But if you aren't going to jump on the live stream and ask us any questions or leave any comments, you can always do it on Spotify on the episode and just leave a comment and we can get to that for the next episode. But you know what, dudes? OU's in the playoff. And that's sweet. That is very sweet, especially when we remember, and this is not a pat me on the back moment because I was wrong. Everyone on here said 8-4. I said 9-3, and we were all incorrect. My whole thing about going 9-3 was just simply if OU really wants to be in the place that they want to be in, if Brent Venables is going to be the coach, the next great coach at the University of Oklahoma, knowing how far they have to climb from that 6-7 hole, the second 6-7 season in the last 3 seasons for Brent Venables, knowing how far they had to climb, I thought, yes, it would be great to make the playoff, but that's not realistic. At least be in the conversation. And boy, Peyton, did they just throw the door down and say, no, let's just get in. And, Notre Dame, BYU, Miami, all those teams, they can pillow fight over who should get in, who should not. And OU fans were just kind of sitting pretty Saturday, enjoying conference championship weekend, and then tuning in essentially just to see who's coming to Norman. I still can't believe that we made it that far as a fan base, as a people. Considering how bad last year was, it's really cool. Did we lose?
It is.
Peyton?
I think we lost. I think we might have lost Peyton again.
Oh, no.
I think we did.
He can't believe it either.
He can't believe it. He can't believe it. Well, I'll jump in instead. But
Peyton, Matt.
Yeah, I'll just be Peyton. I just got done with a 100-mile run. That is my Peyton impersonation. That is me. No, I think it was about as low as the OU fan base has ever been at the end of last year. I would say, Brady. I don't know if that's putting it correctly, but as far as my lifetime goes, which again, keep in mind the first season I vividly remember is the 2000 national championship season. So I can't speak for the 90s, right? I can't speak for any of those days, but
you were like, it's all up from here, right?
Yeah, right. It's all up for here. I was like, wow, cool. OU's just going to win the national title every year. That's awesome. That's just what they do. So that was my first soiree into college football. But no, I think last year was like the lowest of the low. I mean, just with all the injuries, Jackson Arnold not panning out and being bad. There's so many things that were happening last year, and then to them be 1 year removed from that, and you're hosting a playoff game in Norman. I don't know how else to describe it other than this season's already just a massive success, and now you're in the playoff with a chip and a chance. And hey, it's one game. It's one game sample size. You don't have to play a 7-game series in basketball or anything that. This is do or die. Anything can happen in one game. So you're in with a chip and a chance, man. You got a chance to go do something.
Real quick, because I don't know enough about the NBA Cup. Shame on me because it's the historical NBA Cup. How many extra games do you get added to your season if you make it to the NBA Cup championship? Just one?
Yeah.
So the Thunder,
last year, the Thunder played 83 regular season games technically.
So the Thunder played they played 83 regular season games. Then they swept the first round. They swept the Grizzlies, right? And then they played 7 games against the Nuggets, and then they did 5 against the Timberwolves, or was it 5 and then 7? So God,
yeah, they put some mileage on.
Yeah. Peyton, Thunder thoughts, go.
Yeah.
They seem good, right? 23-1 or something. Good for them. Proud of them. Good for the state.
How much time do you get off if you don't make the NBA Cup, Matt? If you just don't make it to Vegas, do you get an extra 2 or 3 days off?
Yeah, I think it's somewhere close to a week, honestly.
Thunder should just fuck it. Let's not win this game. Let's just take the week off. You always want to build for something. But Peyton, I don't know how much of my question that you got to hear before you got kicked off. So the listeners of this podcast are going to be like, what is going on? But, sometimes the internet sucks. But just remembering how far the program has come in just 1 year, considering how bad they were last year, considering how much doubt 6 and 7 brought last year because it was the first year in the SEC and it made all those opinions and thoughts about OU being the next Nebraska or OU not being SEC ready, all those silly things. When last year's going on, it's like, are they right? Were the haters correct? And to remember all that to now knowing you're hosting a playoff game in what could possibly be the biggest home game in school history against Alabama on December 19th. I mean, just, it's awesome. I mean, how awesome has it been? Oh my goodness, Matt. Peyton doesn't want to answer my question.
Right when we tee Peyton up.
God,
it keeps happening. This keeps happening.
Everybody, I'm sorry. If you wanted to listen to Peyton, I'm sorry. It might just be me and Matt.
Might just be us tonight. So sorry about that.
By the way, did Peyton mention Alan's not going to be on the show? He's not been booted off. Alan's going to be out today. So apologies
it's
for
just
that.
It's just gonna be, it's just me and you. Formerly, for anyone who used to listen, BJ in the morning with Matt watching in the corner. It's gonna be no Jerry Ramsey for this one, but we'll be here.
Yeah,
there we go.
Matt, we invoked BJ or at least midday BJ last week when I filled in with Jerry. But without further ado, Peyton, please answer my question.
Ask him quickly.
No, just talk, man.
The computer's trying to die on me. I need to do some file management. Apparently, my core audio ID for my Mac is eating up 90% of my core memory for some reason, which controls all the audio inputs and outputs, which is a tough time when you're trying to do a live stream. No. I'm going to be a bit of a contrarian, as always. It seems to be the hat that I wear here on this side is where Oklahoma was versus where Oklahoma is. Where Oklahoma was, I guess, like from a fan perspective, because then like Brady, there's an argument that I had. I won't say an argument, a discussion that we had, just about like 49-0, and the psychological damage fans take when things don't go well with the football team because other fan bases have something, right? And I understand that college football, unlike professional football, NFL, college football is so much about lore and myth and legend and politicking. There's so much about college football that happens outside of the field or off the field, when it comes to like fan bases, and there's alumni, connections to it much more than, professional sports in the United States. Obviously, professional sports in England's a little bit different because those professional sports have kind of a college feel to them. But Oklahoma was just so banged up last year that you had no real idea of who they were, right? You had just no idea other than is Brent just the most unlucky coach of all time, right? Is that what's going to happen? Is he just not going to be able to have a chance to, put up or shut up and do something? This team is, I think the fight this team has shown, the ability to win tight games, the ability to overcome its own issues, right? It's not winning these games. The 10-2 is not a pretty 10-2. We're not winning these games by 14 plus or something like that. It's luckily we got a fourth, we converted a fourth down, or we stopped a fourth down late in the fourth quarter, like 9 times to get to 10-2, or from that side of it. So to me, the team hasn't necessarily like evolved into that next stage of like, this is a big time contender. What we're seeing right now is a team basically embody a coach, that fighter spirit, fight somebody in a bar type of attitude that Brent Venables seems to have, and potentially, rumored.
I think we lost Peyton again, but I think he was about to say Brent Venables rumored to have done so in terms of getting in a fight in a bar. I think he fought his, I think the story was that he fought his mom's boyfriend at the time or something like that, because they were an alcoholic and treating his mom improperly. So, I guess cool. That's when violence is acceptable. No, like I kind of get where Peyton's coming from. The only pushback that I would have is I remember us having conversations about that and having back and forth last year about, yes, the injuries, like, yes, it's a factor. How much of a factor was it? I mean, could it have resulted in OU winning maybe one more game? I mean, maybe. And the only other game that I could think of that they could win had they have been a little bit more healthy, it was Missouri. And that was the game that they got Deion Burks and Jalil Farouk back in. And
right,
I think,
but then those guys didn't play again. So it's like,
well, they didn't, but I'm just trying to
Yeah.
think, like, having Nick Anderson wouldn't have done shit against South Carolina. You know,
Right.
having everybody healthy wouldn't have done anything against Texas. Having them, like, if you have Deion Burks, if you have a better cast of characters, Nick Anderson, Deion Burks, maybe you have a little bit more of a better offensive performance in the second half against Ole Miss.
right.
But even still, it got to a point where the defense was just getting tired because Jackson Arnold sucks, as has now further evidenced with this year. I don't think it would have mattered. So to Peyton's point, the injuries were certainly a factor, but to me, the greatest factor was you busted on a 5-star quarterback, and that's unfortunately the case with Jackson Arnold. That's not necessarily anyone's fault because everybody wanted him.
Yeah.
And OU got him. And a large reason why people were starting to believe in Brent Venables was because he was coaching a team that landed a 5-star quarterback that everybody wanted. And sometimes, unfortunately, you bust. I mean, Bo Bentley is a highly thought of 4-star recruit, and he could end up being, miles better than Jackson Arnold, or he could be miles worse than Jackson Arnold because you just don't know with recruiting. So you just kind of take what you get. And so it was partly that, and it was the other part of it was Brent handing the keys to Seth Luttrell. And that's where, like, I would place the blame at Brent's feet of, like, I'm sorry, the injuries suck, and that's kind of making it a little bit worse. But again, I think it was just more of you busted on the quarterback and you made a terrible, terrible decision to promote and empower Seth Luttrell. And that just kind of furthered the opinion of, oh, Brent is just a glorified defensive coordinator. He doesn't care about the offense. Is that who you want running your program? Is just someone who's essentially a coordinator and just handing the keys over to someone else, whether they work or not, is anyone's guess. So Peyton, you got cut off again, unfortunately, but I was just kind of pushing back slightly to where you were going about how, like, injuries were a factor, but I placed more blame on Jackson Arnold and Brent Venables for last year. So if they're healthy, they're healthier, maybe they win one more game, but it's still kind of dicey with those two major factors, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, you have a quarterback who can't play at this level. Obviously, gets Hugh Freeze fired as well, and you have a freshman Michael Hawkins. I mean, the quarterback situation was just dreadful, and the quarterback situation could not get better, or could not be mitigated just due to the depth of injuries across the offensive line, across the running back situation, across the wide receiver situation. So it was. I think there's times where people want to. I'm getting a little bit philosophical. I think there are times where people want to find meanings in the chaos and assign blame instead of looking at what happened. At times, like, multiple things can happen. You can make a bad hire an offensive coordinator, and you can also be plagued with injuries that have never been seen before at the University of Oklahoma. I think two of those can be real and can be true. Because I know a lot of people don't like the Ben Arbuckle. I say a lot of people. There are a section of the fan base who don't like the Ben Arbuckle hire and don't like the John Mateer play because the offense really hasn't truly improved all the way. But the record has greatly, and Oklahoma's in the playoffs. So Brent still has his rough edges that will eventually get sanded down and made into a better coach, hopefully. But he's learned a lot this year, and it seems to be his problems have been solved mainly with aggression on the football field. And that's something that you can continue on, hopefully. I mean, Brent was always really good at getting up for a big game, right? And then the team would struggle after big games, or a team would struggle putting away teams in which they should beat. This year, I guess maybe because every single game was, as Brent has mentioned, the most important game of his career. So maybe every game was a big game. So it's easier to get this team motivated, or it plays better into Brent Venables as a coach. So that will be interesting to see how that plays out in the playoff, because if he's able to bring that intensity and the team's able to match that intensity, on the 19th, Friday night lights, it'll be interesting to see what happens. And you can already see, like, when Oklahoma played at Alabama, they were a 5-point dog. And right now, I believe they're a 1.5 point favorite, and it opened as Bama 1.5 point favorite. So there's been a flip. There's on that side. It's still probably a pick-em-ish type of a situation, obviously, one that has not a lot of points, especially when you cook in 2.5 for home field. So
Yeah.
it should be good.
I mean, I think people just quickly realized, man, Alabama is banged up, like physically, and at this point, maybe emotionally and mentally. Peyton, you were right on this in the offseason, because I mean, part of my reasoning for picking 9-3 also dealt with, I don't think Tennessee's going to be as good as they were last year. I don't think Missouri's going to be as good as they were last year. I was completely wrong on Ole Miss. I think everybody was wrong on Ole Miss, to be fair. But I also lumped Alabama into that equation. I don't think Alabama is going to be better than they were last year. Ty Simpson's a more consistent and a better quarterback. Jalen Milroe, it has the ability to just make plays. And maybe that team last year for Alabama had a higher ceiling. But at the end of the day, I mean, this Alabama team is just as good, if not slightly better, just in terms of their consistency. But I think at this point, the other thing that I kind of lumped into Alabama in the offseason could be potentially in play, where I thought, looking at Alabama's schedule, they could have 2 or 3 losses going into our game with them in Tuscaloosa. And how much of a give a damn does that team have at that point? To their credit, they only lost to Florida State, and then we handed them their first loss since that game. So there was no give up factor for them. But I think now, like, with how banged up they are, guys, with the manner of which they've been beaten these last, 2 out of these last 3 or 4 games that they've had, and even the Iron Bowl, where it took every little ounce of them to put the Tigers away. It's like everybody knows what to do against you, and you guys have no like counter move at this point. And I don't know if you're going to be able to find it in 2 weeks. So it's weird, Peyton. Like, OU's playing a wounded animal. And as Barry Switzer once said in a clip, getting his team ready for some game, I can't remember, like, we're facing a wounded animal today, and that's not to our advantage because we're playing a scared team. I kind of get that vibe with this game. Like, OU is going into this probably going to be hearing that, hey, you got outgained by 200 yards, that your win was a sham. Okay, cool. And then they're going to go play some banged up team whose like ego has been handed to them. Potentially a very good spot for OU in terms of on paper.
Yeah, I mean, talking about like what Alabama can do, is Alabama is obviously a pass first, pass second, pass third team. They don't have any ability to run the football of note, right? Georgia holds them to -3. I think that's adding sacks into it, but still -3 rushing, gross rushing, net rushing, whatever, for the game. Oklahoma held them down pretty well as well. And then you've got a quarterback who is beat up. The issue for Alabama is that the offensive line is beat up, so they can't run. They couldn't run to begin with, and now they can't protect the quarterback. The offense completely shuts down. I mean, this is old school football. I mean, this is something I've mentioned a couple of times now. This is like when Big 12 Oklahoma would play a big talented team from the SEC and would go from scoring 50 points a game to scoring, 20 points a game, just because they couldn't hold up on the line. Alabama's built like those old Big 12 teams. They're going to have to score through the air, and they don't have the ability to put a game away because of that, like the Auburn game. They couldn't just run the ball, grind the clock out, and get out of an easy win because they couldn't. They don't have a chance. They don't have that knockout blow. Their knockout blow is like a basketball like dagger, right? They need to get up by enough amount of points, right? They can't just grind you into dust. Oklahoma has that ability, right? The games they've won where they've won because their offense at least showed up, it's been because they're able to take a game, get up by 3. That's all you really need with this defense, and take the air out and kind of condense the game to a point to where it's really kind of broken down to a couple decisions, and then you trust your team to make the right call, right? And hope a ref doesn't flag something and give them another first down. That's just something that where it seems to be on that side. I think that's where this Alabama game comes again. I think it's a small game within a big game, which is Can Oklahoma's defensive line, with rumoredly, hopefully, RMT coming back, like maybe in some packages or something, can they get to Ty Simpson? And can Alabama's offensive line, which, if I'm not mistaken, have 2 injured offensive tackles, and their health is up, in the year, can they keep him on his feet? If Oklahoma gets him on the ground or rushes him enough, I feel pretty confident for Oklahoma to win that game, regardless of what Oklahoma's offense is able to manufacture in Norman on the 19th.
Yeah, because the joke of like the point of your like little quip about OU gets up by 3 and that's good. For me, it's like, of course, we all want OU's offense to be better. They need to be better. The time for their improvement will be coming in the winter, spring, summer, and fall of next year. I think the most that you can hope for over these next few weeks, knowing that they were off last week, is that Xavier Robinson gets healthier, that Torrey Robinson gets healthier, because one thing OU did not have in their first game against Alabama a few weeks ago was a healthy running back. That's when Xavier got hurt. And this offense has shown that while John Mateer can struggle either with turnovers or just inaccuracy and just making poor decisions, this offensive line has proven that they can open up holes for Xavier Robinson and Torrey Blaylock, and they can exploit those holes. So if you have a healthy running back room as much as you can, compared to what it had been from Alabama, Missouri, and LSU, Peyton, I think you can have a little bit more hope for some offensive improvement in the short term. But really, just looking at the drive chart against Alabama, because get up by 3 and that should be enough for OU. Ha ha ha. Like, I get that. But really, like, what it comes down to is OU has to occasionally put points on the board. So like every 2 or 3 drives, put points on the board. And then in those other drives where you don't score, just don't go 3 and out. They had, they had a 3 and out on the drive that led directly to the fumbled punt. So they go 3 and out, punt it away, and then Hardy punches the ball out of Ryan Williams, and then OU scores 2 plays later. They had, a 3 and outs deep in the third quarter, and that was it. Everything else was, not really that much to write home about. 5 plays here, 6 plays there, 8 plays there. But to me, Peyton, those drives are valuable because, like we saw last year, you're just keeping the defense healthy. You're keeping them rested. You're giving them at least some mental hope that, hey, the offense is like finding something here. They're moving the ball. We're getting rewarded for our hard work. And like, call it corny, Peyton, but I tend to think that when you have a defensive team, stuff like that is important. Is just, of course, score a touchdown every drive. That's not really possible with this offense, but at the very least, keep your defense off the field, give them some semblance of hope. And OU did that the first time against Alabama. They should be able to do it again if Xavier Robinson and Torrey Blaylock are healthier.
Yeah, that is helpful. You are right. And that the quip about, just needing to be up 3 is that it's more, I'm not under any sort of like fool's hope that the Oklahoma offense is going to come in here and be markedly better than what they've shown themselves to be in during the regular season. Right now, I hope through rest and stuff and people are healthy and Oklahoma's able to do some stuff and become better at that point in time. Because Oklahoma last year, according to SP Plus, was, I think, 75th overall. And I think they ended the regular season this year like 51st. So it's like not that big of a jump. You want them to jump a lot higher. In the first 5 games, they're a top 30 offense. So it'd be nice if they can get back to that top 30 range, and then they have the ability to move the football. But to me, it's what you mentioned. It's get an 8-play drive. Keep Alabama's offense off the field. You have to be able to do that, right? If you can do that, that's very helpful. If you can score 3 times, you can win this game. Now, that's all you really have to do on that side.
Well, hopefully they're not 3 field goals.
True. But I think Oklahoma can really do that and move themselves to a great chance to win the game by being able to play that style of football of moving things in, moving things out. I don't think you need to think about, Oklahoma needs John Mateer throwing the ball 50 times this game, to win it, and they have to score, 30 points. I think Oklahoma can score 17 and win, right? And that's not me like, that's just me looking at the team, looking at the realisticness of it. you're talking about people being injured and people coming back. And I understand there's a hope for that on the offensive side. I'm more thinking, in my personal opinion, OU's best defensive tackle didn't play this game, during the regular season, and now he's back, right? You get Jackson back, and now whatever running game Alabama did have now just disappears, and you really just allow the guys on the edge to go crazy on that side, because they had a couple runs. It wasn't I think we held them under 100, maybe even less than that. Obviously, the grand total, if you add in sacks, definitely. But I think once you add that in, it's just going to be an ugly game that should be another quick game. But hopefully OU is able to. I mean, OU was able to do some stuff on the defensive secondary that I hope is able to continue. Right? Do we know who the reffing crew is for this game? Is that been announced?
I was going to ask that in this episode. Is it an SEC crew or does it have to be
not for sure. I think the playoffs. I think there's like a thing that happens there. But if this is a crew that allows the secondary to be grabby and be physical, allows Oklahoma to be physical, I think it's pretty good. If this is a Big 12 ticky-tack, you touch, you breathe, and you're a wide receiver, that's the pass interference, it's going to be tough for Oklahoma. It's going to be tough for OU fans, to be honest with you.
No, they should be battle tested for that. It's been inconsistent at the very, to say the least, with the SEC officiating crews in these games this year. Real quick, one more peek at the drive chart in the first Alabama game. I mean, obviously OU had a great chance to just in the game. They had the 3rd and 3. They had the 3rd and 3. And then Eddie Pierre-Louis at the Alabama 33, with 7:52 left. They're up 23-21. Eddie Pierre-Louis gets the false start, turns it into a 3rd and 8, which basically I remember in the moment thinking, here comes a punt. Please, God, at least let it be a punt. And then that's when Arbuckle called the screen on 3rd and 8, and John Mateer throws it to the ground and gets called for intentional grounding. And then they punt on 4th and 20 from the 50 instead. And I think Grayson Miller, he downed it to the Alabama 6. So good on him. So OU had their chances. They were able to move the ball somewhat with a much more banged up offense in terms of the running backs and in terms of John Mateer's ego. And then just as a funny observation, Alabama's last drive of the game, 13 plays, 42 yards.
6.5 minutes.
Yeah, I know. It was just they were just we have nothing left after they called that really good reverse on 4th and 1. And even still, would they get 2 yards?
Yep.
Yeah.
They hey, that's all you needed. But it's my God, we have no answer for these people. But Matt, you've had 2 days to talk about this game now on the radio. Because we've already brought up, I don't know if you were away from the computer when I was bringing it up, but the only thing that you can, I think, realistically hope for would be in terms of the offense getting better, because their true improvement's not going to come until the offseason. Yeah. But you can realistically hope that Xavier Robinson and Torrey Blaylock are more healthy, more capable, because they didn't have a healthy or capable Xavier Robinson or Torrey in the first game against Alabama. So if you have at least a running attack that you can lean on, if you're John Mateer, if you're Ben Arbuckle, that should improve OU's chances greatly, considering that OU's defense has the book out on how to beat this Alabama team. So that's good. And I think if you also want to reach for optimism, while John Mateer had 2 terrible, but 3 overall interceptions against LSU, and the offense only scored 17 points, it was the first time that we've seen John Mateer hit passes downfield since September. So maybe there's something there.
Yeah, maybe. I think for me, it is literally just health. They're not going to install a new offense in 3 weeks.
But why not?
Offense, they're not going to. They might add some wrinkles, but the whole brand new offense isn't happening. They might throw in some extra stuff, but for me, it is all down to health. I think Xavier Robinson, Torrey Blaylock being chief among them, but also John Mateer. If he gets an extra week or two to rest that hand and that leg, or whatever's going on with his leg, I would say rest that. Get some rest. Maybe he's a little bit better in that area, but it's all down to health for me for the offense at those spots. And yeah, I'm not expecting OU to go out there and all of a sudden they're scoring 38 points in this game. Like I'm not expecting that. This just hasn't been this team all year. So yeah, no, looking forward to it though, man. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing what this offense looks like, because I mean, hell, this has been like, obviously OU's offense has been like scrutinized. Like that's not a secret or anything, but feels like since the LSU game, it's been like, oh, these guys shouldn't even be in the playoffs because of how bad their offense is. Like, alone how good their resume is, how good their defense is. These guys' offense should keep them out of the playoff. And hey, are you gonna just be okay with that? Like, are you gonna be okay with people saying that about you, or do you want to go do something about it? Like, that's my thing. Like, take this as a challenge.
Yeah, I mean, this. Go ahead, Peyton.
I was saying, and that tone is coming from the outside, right? And this is something that it blows my mind how much of a flip this is. I remember, because I'm old, right? I remember during Oklahoma's other 4 playoff runs, where 2 of those runs, actual people who report for Oklahoma, on Oklahoma, for message boards, for recruiting services, literally saying, I don't think Oklahoma should play in the playoffs because they're going to get blown out and it's going to hurt recruiting. I mean, we had people who literally live and breathe Oklahoma were saying, I don't want to be in the playoffs, right? That mindset, because Oklahoma's, I mean, it sucks, but Oklahoma was a soft team those years. They could put up a lot of points and stuff.
Yes.
But now it's, oh, hell yeah, get us in there. We got a puncher's chance. We can we've beat even the teams we lost, we beat the shit out of them. like we know we can do that. All right. And then there's a I won't say a quiet, maybe like a cautious confidence when it comes to that, knowing when it gets into a fight, we know we can fight. Right. Yeah. That's something that blew my mind. I was just thinking about that earlier. It's like, I remember when, I think it was McCuistion, I can't quite remember. They're literally arguing Oklahoma hopefully doesn't make the playoff. So it doesn't hurt, because we're going to get blown out and it's going to hurt recruiting and XYZ.
I remember
that's not happening this time.
I remember because they were comparing it to the 2016 year where they didn't get into the playoff, but they were getting a lot of good marketing from the media saying like, hey, no one wants to play this OU team.
If they could have been in there.
If they didn't drop that game all the way back in September, which goes, and we'll talk about Notre Dame later in the show because fuck them. But it just goes to show you college football is all about optics. You're not going to win every game, but you could, as long as you're not terrible like OU was last year, as long as you're not terrible, you can never lose. You're not always going to win, but you can kind of go about your business like, oh, we're not losing. So yeah, we're not in the playoff. That sucks. But I mean, watch us kick so-and-so's ass in the bowl game. Yeah, I think McCuistion had mentioned like, yeah, after the Sugar Bowl in 2016, OU beats Auburn solidly. And then they get a recruiting boost off of it. And it's just nothing but positive, like momentum. And that's, the driving force behind recruiting in a lot of respects, especially in the days before paying players over the table. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely a good thought because, and this is just an observation just to kind of hammer home kind of the vibe that I get from people discussing this game that aren't OU people. I had the TV on, because we did our no cap recap on Sunday. So go check out patreon.com/the Keyhole if you would like. So, and by the way, I believe made that one free. So if you want to go check out the no cap recap, you can go to our Patreon page. That episode is free. So if you're not a patron, go check it out, give it a chance. But I was after the show, I went back in the living room. The TV's still on the college football playoff ranking extravaganza BS show. And they got to their B and C list here of broadcasters because they had Acho and Aaron Rodgers' brother on there. And they're doing the touchscreen and basically just going like, who's going to be your national champion? They spent 2 minutes on Tulane and Ole Miss. They spent 6 seconds on OU Alabama. And it was just, I think Alabama will win because their offense is better. I think Alabama will win because they outgained OU by 200 yards. Hand wave. Just OU's going to hear that. And they've heard that specifically from the Alabama game almost a month ago. And you're telling me the team that has done nothing but thrive off of negative energy from the outside is going to have more of it? Like, you couldn't ask for a better spot for OU if you're going into a playoff game, especially playing at home.
Yeah, I mean, where Oklahoma is right now, like I mentioned earlier, is like they have that fighter's mentality, right? I mean, I think Brent's talked about it a couple of times in media availabilities. Like after the Ole Miss game, the team came together and decided they weren't going to lose anymore, right? And I know that's kind of like jokey, like they made a decision, now they're going to win. But I think it's like that decide of like, we're going to do all the little things. We're going to do this stuff. So that's the point, that you see it from that side. It being, Oklahoma earned that's the part where it just blows my mind about these playoffs and stuff. Because so many of these guys, so much of sports now is predictive, right? All of it's predictive. Who do you think is going to win constantly? Who do you think is going to win? There's no one breaking down games. There's no highlights of games or recaps of games going, wow, look how amazing that is. It's always, they won. Now, are they going to win the next game? Who wins the next game? Everyone makes their.
If these teams played again, who would win?
Yeah. Everything is predictive ratings and rankings and power ratings and power. It's all that sort of stuff. So the brain gets cooked when it happens for this Oklahoma team, because they earned their way in, right? Much more than if the schedule truly is as hard as it was. It fell down to earth a little bit, but not. It went from like the 4th hardest schedule to the 8th hardest schedule in the nation. So like, big whoop. But it's good in the stupid way. The playoff committee does strength the schedule. So the earning versus predictiveness is what is happening for Oklahoma. Sure, in the predictive stuff, Oklahoma isn't favorable very well, but they keep winning these games. And the games they have won. I think Alan wrote something really cool. The game was played, the score was kept. They did that 12 times. They won 10 of them. Like that's the season was played, the record was kept, right? I think that's such a cool thing Alan wrote about that. It stuck in my head. The score was kept, and you can't take it down. It's in stone. They did it. And, I think Oklahoma, if you look at the advantages they have, even the predictive people, SP Plus came out and they have Oklahoma favored. Our former friend of the pod, maybe still friend of the pod, the TCU guy Parker, he has Oklahoma winning the game. I mean, they're winning now even on the analytical side, but it's not caught up. You know what I'm saying? It hasn't caught up to the humans who have to talk in front of cameras.
Yeah, and I get it. OU under Brent Venables has played an inconsistent brand of football, like for the most part. It's also not been particularly pretty because when the offense was really good in 2023 with Dylan Gabriel, and it was technically good in 2022, it's in the Big 12 against a bunch of shit teams that no one cares about. So no one's going to catalog, Dylan Gabriel having 6 or 7 touchdowns against West Virginia and Norman in 2023. They're not going to catalog that like they would like Austin Simmons' second quarter against Georgia last year. He's good. Like he's a legit dark horse for the Heisman in 2025. And then he loses his job to some dude from Ferris State, so like, I get it. And it's interesting to think back to like Brent's 2 biggest wins of his coaching career at OU, Texas in 23, and then probably the Alabama game this year. And in both instances, I mean, immediately after, the predictive jargon would come out about, well, if they played again, like on a neutral field, I'm going to pick Texas. I'm going to pick Alabama. It's like, at some point, you just got to reward like the points on the board. And just because it's not pretty or because it doesn't follow like a predictive script doesn't mean that you hand wave it. But again, enjoy the shit talk, right, Matt? Like enjoy the shit talk that OU is going to hear. Was that Pirate Sleep Soundly in the comment section, Peyton? This team is, we'll get to the all SEC teams in just a few seconds, but I mean, Matt, like this team is just going to hear shit talk after shit talk. And now you've got like a handful of players who were legitimately snubbed on the all SEC teams list, first, second, or third team. It's like, man, this team is going to have so much motivation for this Alabama game. It has really nothing to do with Alabama. It's just like, sorry, you're just in the way.
Yeah. I will say just for S's and G's, I looked up because Peyton was saying something that OU's favored now. Like on ESPN, they're favored. FanDuel, they're 1.5 point dogs. So it's just kind of wherever you look. Like it's right there, like kind of a pick 'em basically, like he was saying. But then I scrolled over on FanDuel to the national championship winners. So like just odds to win the national title. OU is the lowest Power 4 team in the odds. They are right ahead of James Madison and Tulane as far as odds, and 2 spots behind Bama. 2 spots behind Alabama for the odds to win the national title. Now, I'm not sitting here saying that Oklahoma is going to win the national title. That's not what I'm saying. But just add that more fuel to the fire. Do it. I mean, I said this. I took the rest of this week off. # using PTO before I lose it. So I worked on Monday. Brady, we were talking, but I was like, man, I know that Alabama, this is like a revenge game for them, right? Because they lost at home, right, to Oklahoma. But man, I don't know if Alabama has more bulletin board material than OU does for this one, and this is a rematch in a game that OU won. Like I don't know. I don't think the Sooners are short for any of that stuff, and who knows how important that actually is. Like because when the game starts, like who knows how much that actually matters. But still, I mean, the Sooners are not short on any motivation.
Yeah, I mean, Peyton, you understand metrics and predictive stuff like much more than I do. You have a better nuanced understanding of it than I do. Am I just wrong in how I view like turnover conversations? Because turnovers can be fluky. I just like football plays can be fluky. Like I'll never forget 2011 Baylor where RG3 throws a pass and I can't remember if it was thrown off the hands of a OU defender or off of a Baylor receiver. And it just bounced off of his hands downfield, like 15 yards into the streaking hands of another receiver. It's like, that is fluky. And I just hit the mic. That is fluky. You can't rely on shit like that to happen. But, and the same thing can be said about turnovers where the ball gets tipped and you just happen to intercept it, or, a running back or someone just straight drops the ball. It's not like punched out of their hands. But anytime like OU has been discussed, you can't rely on turnovers. If you watch their games, the turnovers that they are facing are either their guys are taking the ball away because they're good, or they're scheming you into making a mistake. And we've heard this back to the Auburn game last year where it was just Auburn threw that game away. No, they didn't. Brent baited Hugh Freeze into something, and he took the bait, and Kip Lewis picked it off and returned and housed it. So, do they just not understand that, or am I looking at the whole conversation wrong?
I'm going to title this segment of How I Stopped Worrying and Learned to Love Randomness. Let me give you 2 examples. The Auburn game in which you mentioned, which you went to, right? They baited him. They baited Peyton Thorne into throwing that. Do you remember how that play happened? Right. Kip Lewis is in the A gap. They were mugged up. He drops on the mug. Do you remember what happens immediately when he drops?
He stumbles.
Kip Lewis trips over himself and still somehow recover. I mean, there's just it's lucky because someone takes a step, right? I mean, it's just lucky. Everything that happens on the field, I won't say it's all luck. You're basing around people. People have to do their jobs like that. But to me, that Auburn play is a perfect example of that because hell, Kip Lewis, one degree more of a fall, he's on the ground. He doesn't make that play, right? I mean, there is just luck involved in this stuff. Now you can scheme that stuff. I remember when who was it was a Lincoln Riley year. It was a cornerback Oklahoma had. He was from Waco. He broke on a wide receiver screen and it just hit him right in the face. And then he gets injured a play later and he's out basically for his career. It's like Oklahoma. Yeah, you can say, oh, this is what they're about to do. Like what Texas does under Sark. It's like every single game they've done that little flare out to Wingo. It's like you could just say, jump the route, see what happens. I mean, you can get there, but these guys who are defensive backs because they can't catch a football, still have to catch a football. I mean, there is parts in that. And I remember in the game chat in the Tennessee game, and again, it's hard to hold anybody accountable when they're watching football. But I remember you had mentioned like we're going to win this game or we're about to put them away until Xavier just randomly decides to fumble. It's like, but the guy jumps behind him and just like peanut punches it perfectly. You're right. I mean, it's just you can teach those skills, but he still has to get there right. I mean, there's so much that has to happen, and once the ball hits the ground, who the hell knows how it's going to bounce?
That was me being silly. If you asked me to break down each turnover, I'd been like, Tennessee like forced the issue there. So credit to them. It just sucks.
So that's the part too, where it's like, I would argue they were unlucky the first 8 weeks of the season.
Yes.
Right. And now they are potentially getting a little bit luck where they are now. Now, if you were to break things down, I know there's like a math equation where it's like, how many X amount of times of havoc plays you create, you should create this percentage of turnovers. I can't remember the exact ratio, but Oklahoma's way under that then, and now is like 1 to 2 points over it now. So I don't think it's that crazy, right? But to Pirate sound sleepily there, that is the point where Oklahoma is able to cause havoc, cause chaos, cause pressure, and what they can control is having a quarterback or having a running back make a bad decision. What happens after that bad decision is kind of gloves off, in my opinion. But if you can keep causing them to make bad decisions, you're going to have a good time. If you can make them pizza when they should French fry, you're going to have a good time.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it's going to be for Oklahoma. I think the part that you see, I think that you're internalizing what I internalize when they say, oh, you can't rely on this, this, and this. I'm like, but I can rely on RMT and Wine and David Stone and Jake Jackson and Grace Hall. I can rely on those guys
just
doing their
ass.
job.
Yeah.
And then that causes things. People seem to think of turnovers. And again, I do this because it's a good comparison of how like Grinch saw them, right? He's like, if you get 2 turnovers, you win 80% of the games. So he built his entire defense around causing turnovers. Brent's made his entire defense around sacking the quarterback and tackling the running back behind the line of scrimmage. If you do that enough times, you're going to get enough havoc plays and enough plays in which the ball gets jarred loose, the quarterback makes a bad read, you can jump a route. That, to me, is the better point. So when people say they can't get those turnovers again, I would say, great, we'll get the 9 sacks still. It's still going to happen. It's the Thanos thing. It's inevitable. It's here. He's here on that side.
No, I mean, I'm glad you brought that up. And Pirates, thank you for the comment. It's nice to know that some people seem to get it. I need to find it because it just really illustrates something that you were talking about with R. Mason Thomas.
Yeah.
Look, I need to find it. I should have bookmarked it. Look at this stupid MFer.
Is it the Jackson Arnold one where he's just standing there like everything's
yes
fine?
I'm gonna show it. It's this one.
That dumbass.
And it's just so funny just to see a sentence say, look at that stupid motherfucker just standing there.
Same thing in the end zone in the game. He's just standing there.
R. Mason Thomas just about
my
to
wife
kill him.
laughed her ass off at that sack. He was like a spider monkey. He just jumped on him. I was like, yeah, he did. But you can create those plays over and over and over again. Something's gonna happen on the good side, right? Because I wouldn't say I think we would say, Brady, the first half of the season, we would be on here saying, when are we firing Brandon Hall? And now all of a sudden the defensive backs, everyone seems to be a little bit tighter. And it's just because those plays that the defensive line is creating, they're coming heads up for Oklahoma now. And you got to hope it happens again. But Oklahoma, I thought Oklahoma was going to break the single season sack record, which I guess technically they count bowl games so they can still do it against LSU, right? They have 41. They needed to get to 45. They didn't get a single sack in LSU. I thought they were going to tear their ass up, and they didn't get a single one. So that you got to give and take. I mean, if Alabama decides to keep 10 back to block and just throw the number 5 over and over again, we might not be able to get to them.
Yeah, I was wondering if Alabama is going to slightly alter their offense to kind of mimic what LSU did and just move the pocket immediately to try to get away from that. But if you do that, then you just make the job for the secondary that much easier because they're just then guarding one section of the field. And you can't, at that point, you're just trying to like, Big 12 it. You're just like dinking and dunking it 5-6 yards downfield every play. And they're just like, okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure Ty can move like that. And then Alabama's already doing a lot of max protect last game. So,
yeah.
What you need to hope is that whoever's got their hip on number 5 can stay on him. He is the engine that moves the Alabama offense.
Yeah. I guess no disrespect to Michael Van Buren, not a very good quarterback, but very talented in terms of his athleticism, pretty fast. Ty Simpson, athletic, but not that fast. So, we'll see. Guys, I do want to just point this out and look, this is an OU podcast. So of course we're always going to like try to break down as much as we can, like the positive outlook and the negative outlook for any particular game or scenario. And we talked about it on no cap. Man, I has anyone else like dared to let their minds wander into if they beat Alabama, can they beat Indiana? If they do, it's a very favorable side of the bracket. Let's just say that you don't get Georgia, you don't get Ohio State until potentially the national championship game. And like Peyton, I know you'd jump on that and say Indiana's really good. And like the numbers suggest that, and they beat Ohio State, but we already talked about it on no cap in terms of like Jeremiah Smith or Indiana's guys. Julian Sand, in terms of his, ability, or Fernando Mendoza, who again is going to win the Heisman, but at this point in the playoffs, you're picking and choosing your poison. So, Matt, have you looked at the bracket and thought, man, if OU gets past Alabama, if they're able to do it, the Rose Bowl might be, you might like, we could find ourselves like, I can't believe we're still doing no cap recaps this late into the year.
Yeah. Yes, I have allowed myself to do that because I am not a player or a coach on the team. So I've allowed myself to look forward to that. But yeah, man, I just like, and again, like Indiana's really, really effing good. They just beat Ohio State, and I still feel like it's like, oh, well, Ohio State's fine. They're just going to win it. Like, it'll be Ohio State and Georgia. Yeah. Like, even though they're on the safe side of the bracket, but it'll be one of those guys. It feels like they're still getting sort of disrespected. And like, hand up, like before the season, I was like, okay, Indiana's coming crashing back down to earth. Like, it's Indiana football. And I feel like there are still some people that are still clinging on to that. Like, it's Indiana football. What the hell are we doing? Like, we were talking like Indiana, like, I don't know, like, now, Isaiah Thomas isn't walking through that door and playing football. Like, Sooner fans, cover your ears. Jared Jeffries is not walking through that door and playing football. Like, this is a basketball school. That's the Indiana Hoosiers. They're basketball state. They don't care about football. And no, they're legit, man. That defense is really good. So again, I'm not sitting here saying like, or like disrespecting Indiana. I think that's probably the matchup that you'd want, though. like honestly, as far as the strength of OU's team, it feels like it would be, the two best units on that field, probably both of the defenses, to be honest with you. So
yeah,
that game, and again, like we kind of talked about this earlier, I don't see OU getting blown out of like any game. Like and maybe the most would be like a 14-point loss, like at the most. And maybe that's because the offense turns it over like 3 or 4 times. But their worst loss was Texas. That was 17 points, and Texas needed a special teams touchdown and John Mateer to throw it to
with
them
2 clips.
Right. Yeah. To throw it with 3 times. And then the other one was the Ole Miss game. And you were down 5 and returned a punt cross midfield to give yourself field position and fumbled it. So like, there's like, I don't know.
Technically still had a chance to tie it,
Right.
on the last drive, even though nobody had the hope that would be the case.
So I feel like again, as far as like getting blown out, like you got beat by 30. Like I don't see that happening with this defense. But I don't know. I think if in a perfect world, maybe Tech would be the team that you would. Well, obviously they're the ranked lowest of the 4-bye teams, so that's obvious. But out of Indiana, Georgia, Ohio State, I guess just pedigree wise, you would like to just go Indiana.
If you want to know if I've been thinking about can Oklahoma win this game,
yeah, look how beautiful that is.
So good.
For the people who are on the podcast, I'm showing that there's a picture on Twitter where a guy like mocked up what if Oklahoma added the rose to the helmet, like some teams in the Rose Bowl. So it's really, really pretty. But no, no. The heart lingers. The eyes wander. You know, you go this way. You think, oh, we're just going to sack Ty Simpson 12 times. We're going to break a record. We're going to win the game, and then we're all going to Pasadena. Like it's easy peasy right there. And I'm not one of the people who are like, no, the Rose Bowl branding needs to stay off my helmet. Yeah, I'm mad at the rose. No, put the rose on the helmet. It looks fucking cool. Go for it all the way. You know, I've thought about it. You have to get through Friday. I don't want to be disappointed, and that's the point where I am now. This is all house money to me. I said 8 before. This is all house money. If Oklahoma loses, it would suck because they'd be 0-5 in the playoffs. Brent Venables would be 0-4 in bowl games. Trust me, I could then start talking about big game Brent or whatever. But anything that happens, I'm excited about. But no. Let's fucking win this game and let's go beat Indiana.
Yeah, I in order for me to be consistent, I have to agree with that, but I just never would have guessed in a million years that they'd be hosting a playoff game. And so there's a part of my OU brain that goes, you're playing at home, you got to win that thing. Like that's for sure. You know, we're always looking ahead. With the Rose Bowl, potentially, you know, if OU is fortunate enough to beat Alabama, there's just something to be said about the color, the brightness, the sharpness of the color of the Rose Bowl grass and OU's white jerseys on it. Because when they played Washington State in the 03 Rose Bowl, beautiful, just fucking beautiful. That would be awesome. And maybe Peyton, like I can get you to at least see my point a little bit more when I bring this up. Because yes, like Indiana's roster versus Ohio State's, who's more talented. We understand what the answer to that question is, but that's why they play the games, and Indiana deserves that. So they would still be very tough. But for me, the whole thing with Indiana has just been last year, they didn't beat anybody with a pulse. Then they finally played Ohio State and got destroyed. And then they got to the playoff by virtue of winning a bunch of games against a bunch of Purdue's and Illinois. Mm-hmm. And then they are somewhat competitive against Notre Dame, but ultimately Notre Dame is like clearly better than them. So Indiana, as good of a story as they were, you know, they're arm's length from being like a really good team to be taken seriously. This year they prove it on the road in Autzen and beat the crap out of Oregon. And so it validates all their wins to come over the Purdue's and the Minnesotas and the bad Big Ten schools. And then it's like, okay, can you do it against Ohio State now? And they finally do it, and they do it in a manner that was just like they had to scratch and claw and fight and everything. And they even had to like hope that Ohio State misses a chip shot field goal in the game. There's just something to be said about they got that monkey off their back. How do they stay motivated after that? Yeah. So in the event OU plays them, if they get past Alabama, because I've heard other people say this, and I kind of agree, whoever wins OU Alabama has a very good chance to beat Indiana. I think for that reason, because now they're in unfamiliar territory where you are the hunted. You are not hunting anybody anymore. Someone's going to want to come into the Rose Bowl and go like, no, you're fucking Indiana. Shut the hell up.
And also like last year, real quick. Last year, if you remember, like, I mean, the extra week off might be like a thing. Like I know they played, you know, more recently than OU has, but I mean, OU, if they beat Alabama, they're going to kind of be in a little bit more of a rhythm, whereas Indiana's going to have a couple weeks off. And we saw last year, I don't know how much of a difference that made because that Ohio State team was just basically the Monstars, if you will. But that second round game that Ohio State played against Oregon, it was over in the first quarter. That game was completely done. Oregon's offense had no chance in that game, and you blinked and they were down 21-0 already. So who knows if that could be a factor as well.
But yeah, I mean that's the point I mean, you're talking about who do you play and how you want to play them and where you want to go there. Indiana is a team in which you say, do I trust predictive analytics or do I not? Right? Because their opponent adjusted. They're they're top 5 in offense and defense. You know, they have a statistical profile of a national champion. They would be the only national champion, the first national champion. The second national champion since 2000 to not meet that blue chip ratio, right? By a pretty good margin. You know, it's Oklahoma, Auburn, and then it would be Indiana. I mean, so you can sit there and say statistically they have the profile of past champions. Talent on a roster, they have no shot. I mean, you're right. It's kind of like that TCU team. It's like, well, fuck, they just beat everybody. I guess they have a shot. And then they play a team with a lot of talent on it. It's like, well, look at there. Well, that was fun. I don't think they'll get blown out in that way, just because there isn't a team like Georgia wandering around, and the team that we thought was Georgia wandering around, they just beat. So maybe that's a little all for naught. But yeah, you're right. There's a difference between getting your licks on teams in which you can beat and then getting your licks on teams in which you're equal to versus what Oklahoma, Alabama, and look at us being super SEC team people now. Oklahoma, Alabama, Georgia, these teams they had to go through. And they could just be bad teams, right? But Florida has a ton of NFL players on it, and they beat the shit out of Texas. You know what I mean? It's like these teams have talent to where they can just randomly just stand up and punch you in the face. And Oklahoma had to navigate that, and to a point in time where Indiana doesn't. You know what I mean? A&M does not get that because A&M played one team of Pulse in the SEC and got curb stomped. So I think A&M is going to be out of there super quick because they follow through a very, very similar profile in my mind as Indiana does. But no, you're right. I mean, it's interesting to see what would happen there. And I think, I personally would favor Oklahoma over Indiana, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's a tough game into the fourth quarter, like every other single Oklahoma game.
Yeah. And is this true? Stephen Daly, their defensive lineman, is going to miss the rest of the season because there was that clip of him hobbling around after beating Ohio State.
That I'm not for sure about. I think there's people saying we want to see or whatever, but that would be a pretty big blow for them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a bummer. But again, OU needs to beat Alabama but again, this is an Oklahoma football podcast, so of course we're going to talk about this stuff. Let's get through the all SEC teams because people already know about it by this point, but just in case. First team, your all SEC OU Sooners on the first team. R. Mason Thomas, Grayson Miller, and Tate Sandell. Special teams. Woo! R. Mason Thomas makes it by missing the last 3.85 games of the season. Makes perhaps one of the biggest plays, if not the biggest play of the season, with the scoop and score against Tennessee to get Red November rolling. But that's pretty eye-opening when you remember, and this thing that will come later. All SEC Sooners second team, you've got Taylor Wine, Fabechi Wiwu, Isaiah Satania, Peyton Bowen, Ben Anderson. So you've got two offensive players on the all SEC second team for the 59th best offense in the country, Peyton, whatever they were.
Yes.
Satania deserved it. Satania was like in the top 2 or top 3 of like touchdowns, receptions, and yards in the conference. He deserved it.
And can I just say real quick to defend our guy, Ben Anderson, if your punter and your kicker are both first team, how are you not the first team long snapper? Like I don't
who's
know
better than
who's
him
voting on this, but if your punter and your kicker are our first team, how are you not the first team long snapper?
Is it a Kentucky long snapper? If so, it's like hard to argue.
No, from Georgia.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Right. Come on.
Get out of here.
Who's LSU? Long snapper you. Oklahoma, right?
Exactly. Come on.
You got Winchester on the Chiefs, 3 Super Bowls.
Yeah. This is bullshit. Justice for Ben Anderson.
Kiss the rings. And then the all SEC third team, Jaron Kanik, which good for him. man, the tight ends in this conference must have sucked, because it is incredible to me that Jaren Kanak did not score a touchdown this year, but he had 500 and some odd yards receiving. And he is no doubt a good player. If this was a year 2, year 3 Ben Arbuckle offense and John Mateer was just better this year, Jaren Kanak has a much bigger season. He's clearly a talented offensive player, talented with the ball in his hands. That's not me dogging him. It's just dogging the tight ends in this conference, because if he made third team, yikes. And then Eli Bowen, who made third team probably because he missed the first 4 games of the season with his injury before he came back against Kent State. So the first 3 or 4 games. So that means, as someone already pointed out in the comment section, no Jaden Jackson, no David Stone, and really, most surprisingly, no Grayson Halton. Incredible that R. Mason Thomas makes first team when he misses. Like, why is OU in the playoff? R. Mason Thomas missed 95% of that. Still a great player and deserving of all SEC first team, because he's that good.
And man, but the thing that that's crazy to me about this is that, as if you read at the top of the article from SEC that says all this stuff, this was voted on by the league's head coaches. Like, all the coaches did it. Before the year, I had said I thought Jaden Jackson was going to make first team all SEC. That was kind of like my hot take, right? Before the year, one of them was like Jaden Jackson, because I thought that the head coaches would be like, yeah, we don't want to block this number 65 guy. Like, we can't block, we can't move him. Like, no, we can't move him. And to see how this season has played out and how good that defensive line has been for none of those guys to make any of the SEC teams, it is that's pretty crazy to me. And for it to be the head coaches as well, voting on it.
And Taylor Wine making it, Taylor Wine deserved it, but he is no doubt aided by the fact that he's got Grayson Halton, Jaden Jackson, Dominic Williams, and David Stone, like, making it easier for him. It's insane. Peyton, I wonder if maybe if the coaches care enough about it, because again, these are just these are not names that are like, oh, I don't know them. They're not. People know who Jaden Jackson, David Stone are. People probably aren't as familiar with Grayson Halton, although you'd be hard pressed to find people in this conference who aren't, because that dude just makes gigantic play after gigantic play in basically every single game. I do wonder if they got docked because OU is so deep. They just don't play a lot of snaps, like individually. Like, these guys are playing like anywhere from 20 to 40, like 30 snaps a game. So maybe that's why.
That's what I would argue. They're rotating so much in there. It's hard for any one of them to get like a ton of pub, because right, we're going from, you're getting Dominic, you're getting Jackson, you're getting Stone, you're getting Grayson, you're getting Marcus Strong. You're getting all these guys just rotating in, and it's just that Oklahoma comes at you at waves when it comes to that at that position. So to me, that's tough. Jaden Jackson not even making a third team, to me, is somewhat criminal, but he gets hurt, he misses. He's kind of humbled the last 4 games of the season, so I guess I get it from that side. He had 3 sacks. He had the second most. I mean, Halton only had 3.5, so Jackson and Halton are basically neck and neck for sacks for the tackle spot. And then David Stone had 1.5 sacks, but I mean, he was more, to me, productive, I guess, at that point in time. He had a lot more tackles. He had 42 tackles on the season, which out of the defensive tackle spot is pretty good.
Yes.
Right, for that side of it. 8 tackles for loss for him. So while he was able to, he didn't have a ton of sacks, a lot of tackles for loss out of that. But that's some of that stuff just doesn't quite make sense. Obviously, R. Mason Thomas, when he played, he was the best player on the field. So I get it, well-deserved, right, on his side. Maybe everything stat-wise wasn't all the way there, but 9.5 sacks with only playing 9 games and being limited, and some of the playing basically 8 games, because in Tennessee he was out there for like a drive, 2 drives. It's pretty impressive all around. But for like linebackers and defensive tackles, Oklahoma just rotated those guys in, and not a lot of them got like a ton of pop. I mean, Kip Lewis leads the team with 72 tackles. I mean, I remember the Danny Sutzman days where he's got 110, or the Kenneth Murray days, he got like 140 tackles. I mean, they're pretty spread out this year. It's a little different, and it just speaks to the depth of the program that Brent Venables is finally assembled in Norman, Oklahoma.
Yeah. So in addition to those guys getting snubbed, we going back to the whole motivation factor for this game, those players are going to be certainly motivated. I think David Stone already tweeted something about it, not making a list at all. I did work out earlier today at Kaizen. Give Ryan Chapman a shout out. I was working out with Ryan, and he mentioned, if David Stone just wore the rec specs all year, maybe he'd have made a list. It's like, yeah, maybe half these lists are all about optics. But the other big list snub, arguably, the Eddie Robinson Coach of the Year finalists. And there's 12 finalists. I'm not trying to sit here and say Brent Venables should be the Coach of the Year or anything like that. I don't think he is. But of the 12 finalists, I'll just rattle off the names that I'm like, yeah, sure, I guess they belong there. Partly because the school that they are coaching at have low expectations. They won a lot of games, or I simply just don't know enough about them. So I'm just not going to sit here and argue it. Bob Chesney at James Madison. Sure. Kurt Signetti at Indiana. Of course, like he's going to win it. He deserves it. Mike Elko at Texas A&M. They were 11-0. That's good for Texas A&M. Okay. Tony Elliott at Virginia. Agreed. Clark Lee at Vanderbilt. Agreed. Jerry Mack at Kennesaw State. I don't know. I guess so. Joe McGuire at Texas Tech. Agreed. Jim Mora, UConn. I don't know. And John Summerall at Tulane. Agreed. Then there's these other three guys, because Brent Venables' name is not on this list, but Kirby Smart, Marcus Freeman at Notre Dame, and what the fuck is Ryan Day doing here? Like, what? How is Brent Venables entering this season on the hot seat where he's got dorks like me that are OU fans saying, like, if they go 7-5, they need to let him go. And then they navigate this schedule that everybody agreed was hard. Well, the reason why they're not going to pick OU to be very good this year, Brent goes 10-2, and they're like, yeah, he's not a Coach of the Year. And Peyton, I've got to give you even more credit, because I can't remember if you said it to us in a text on Discord, but I think you hit the nail on the head with this. I think everybody just already understood OU schedule is really hard. They're not going to win a lot of games. Then the dust cleared, and they saw OU at 10-2, and they're like, oh, you lived. And they had nothing to say. There's like, we are not prepared for this. We don't have Brent Venables. Like, we don't have banners for him at the Eddie whatever Coach of the Year award ceremony. Like, we're not prepared. We're sorry. You don't deserve to be in the playoff. They just kind of fall back to, BS.
Yeah, I think a lot of it. I mean, I think this one's voted by media, right?
That I do not know. The Eddie Robinson Coach of the Year. Let's
assume. I'm gonna make an assumption. And if that's the case, and I think it's all the rest of it. It's Oklahoma's been lucky. They're winning close games because of blocked punts or punt returns or a good field goal kick or an interception or a forced fumble. And I think so much Oklahoma has caused so much chaos, and the turnover stuff, however you fall in the luck or not luck thing, skill versus, I mean, there's skill to it, obviously, but the ball's got to bounce a certain way. I think maybe he's just I think he's being dinged for the perceived quality of the team's overall health, right? Oklahoma's winning because it's not like Iowa, where Iowa's like, they're winning because they're holding you to 3 points and they score 6, right? Oklahoma's winning because they're holding you to 3 points and they score 6. But during that, there's been a fumble. There's been a blocked punt. There's been all this other chaotic stuff that Oklahoma's being really good about creating and then thriving in. And I think maybe he's being dinged on that, of saying, if the offense were just a little bit better, I think maybe people would go, oh, there's the full coaching job. The offense improved, defense improved, like everything improved. But I think, the stuff that you've been railing against, to me, this is the one time I think it's completely justified. I think Oklahoma, Brent Venables, is being quote unquote punished or overlooked because of the perceived idea that turnovers are lucky and that therefore Oklahoma's record is fraudulent, right? At that point in time, it's not like what Pirates Sleep Soundly is talking about with Cole, Klubnik, and what I mentioned, where it's like Oklahoma's causing a great amount of pressure and causing a great amount of havoc, which then in turns some percentage of that will be turnovers. I think maybe if it's fully media stuff and this is the only thing they've been parroting, then yeah, at that point in time. But yeah, Ryan Day, you go 12-0 in the regular season, you're going to be on the list. Right? It just is what it is at that point in time. But this is Kurt Cignetti's, award to lose, basically. I mean, at that point in time.
Yeah.
Or maybe Vanderbilt. Maybe they give the Vandy Clark at that point in time, 10-2, first time 10-win season. But both of those are great.
Yeah, I
think that's when I think that the stuff you were talking about earlier, this is true to that and the reflection of it, and it's completely justifiable.
Yeah, and look, like a lot of these awards, it comes from off-season hype, especially the player awards. So if OU is able to replicate this season, Brent will probably be on this list. And the funny thing is if they go 10-2 again and they lose to Texas and then someone else, we're probably going to be like, this is not the move, like to us, it'd be like you went 10-2 last year and lost to Texas. We need to see more than the following season in year 2 under Ben Arbuckle and John Mateer. And if they just repeat it, it's like, yikes. But to the national casual person, they might go, hey, Brent Venables has truly turned the corner to OU. They 10 games in a row or 10 games, 10 wins, 2 years in a row. Going back to your original question, the Eddie Robinson Coach of the Year award is voted by a national panel of sports information directors. So Mike Houks all over at other respective schools, and selected sports writers. So sports media as well. So that falls in line. That tracks. That makes sense. So yeah, this team will be very, very, very. I mean, they're going to have to look hard for some motivation. I don't know where they're going to find it, quite frankly. We'll table the John Mateer talk for after the season. I wrote something on Sooners on SI about, hey, there's external hope that you can have for him to improve in the offseason because Joe Burrow had an awful, very pedestrian first year in the SEC, transferring from the Big Ten. And Jackson Dart, Jaden Daniels, like all these guys who ended up being great, their first years gave you no inclination that greatness was coming. So, there's some hope other than just John Mateer getting better himself out there. Let's spend the last handful of minutes on the show, guys, just dunking on Notre Dame for being silly. What an embarrassing display. And I say this like, I remember getting on No Cap Recaps last year. I remember getting on the Free Pod on Tuesdays with you guys. And I'm just a dork fan, It's for the dork fans to say, I wish they'd opt out of this bowl game. No, absolutely zero disrespect to the armed forces, but to the Armed Forces Bowl, I don't want to watch OU in a bowl game like that. I just not that level. Let's just pack it in, because to me as a fan, that makes me feel better because really the real reason for that is you don't want to watch your team lose that game, because rest assured, I was watching the game. I was getting into the game when Michael Hawkins threw that, reverse and field, throw that 50-yard touchdown pass to Zion Kearney. I was like, yes, awesome. And then when they drove the field to score the potential game tie or game winning touchdown, when they went for 2 and didn't get it, I was excited. So when fans go opt out of the bowl game because it's not the game I want to watch my team play, and really what that means is I don't want to watch my team lose it potentially. For Peyton, for Notre Dame to do this is your fault. You made the decision as an institution to be the shadow member of the weakest Power 4 conference year in and year out. They had Clemson for a 4 or 5 year run. Other than that, they are the weakest Power 4 conference. And in terms of they're the weakest in terms of talent, and they're also the weakest in terms of give a shit about the sport, because we can make fun of the Big 12 and we have our opinions about the Big 12. I'll never question the passion of that conference because it's mostly based in Texas and in states where football is king. The ACC is a bunch of rich schools, coastal schools, and basketball schools. There are 3 or 4 schools in there that I'm like, yeah, Virginia Tech cares about football. Florida State cares about football. Miami is good at football sometimes, great at it historically. Their administration hates football, and they hate the news that football brings their school for some reason. So this is your fault, Notre Dame. That's why you're not in the playoff. If you want to be in the playoff, you're in South Bend, Indiana, Peyton. Join the fucking Big Ten. Like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, or just win the game against Miami or A&M and be done with it, right? And I get it. I mean, this is the same team that, I mean, Notre Dame has big bust potential every single season. Now they're losing to Marshall, they're losing to Northern Illinois. You know, they have it just happens for them for some reason. I'm not entirely sure what Freeman's on about, where he's able to. He hasn't been whining too much, but you know, him coaching those games, you don't lose those games, right? And I do get from a Notre Dame, not from like, oh, we were surprised the ACC was pushing one of their member schools over us, right? And maybe the AD is thinking, hey, there should have been us together saying Alabama needs to be out, you know, whatever, because like, or something, right, at that point in time, because the committee messed this up by flipping Alabama, Notre Dame the week, and then the next week flipping them back when nothing seems to have really changed materially between their resumes. It caused an issue on that point in time. What Notre Dame is kind of right about is, you know, they're like looking at the now ACC with an SMU team who's paying to be in the league conference, you know, Stanford, Cal, all these other teams, and being like, yo, we're the ones kind of paying the bills here. Right? Like, you know, your stadiums are empty until we show up. Like, you think you would, you know, and I get, maybe I can see a little bit of that being like, you should show a little gratitude, but if the ACC does that, they just have to fold shop. Right? I mean, there's just no way they can't survive this institution if they like prop up Notre Dame over Miami. So on that point in time, but I do understand from their side, we're like, hey, we're the only show in town that you've got. What's up? Which is the reason why I don't think they would join the Big Ten. It's the reason why, in my opinion, they would join a scheduling agreement with the Big 12 or something, where they can keep we're the big audience. You have to listen to us, but you know, give us 5 games every year. You know, I could see something like that, and it would honestly fit with what Notre Dame likes to schedule. You know, I kind of hate listening to Cover 3 at times, and you know, credit to where credit's due. Bud Elliott has pegged Notre Dame. They're like, oh, ooh, they're scheduling Arkansas. Like, wow,
Yeah.
You know, it's like they're scheduling the Clemson, which is dying. It will never be Clemson again. Ooh, you know, it's like
Tom Fernelli was not
you're
happy
kinda
about
right.
that.
No,
Tom Fernelli he was not happy about that.
No, I mean Clemson's. I mean, it sucks, but Clemson's dead. They don't realize it yet.
Brady, when you were talking about the ACC, one, shame on you. You didn't mention the football school that is the current ACC title holder.
You don't care about Duke football. You don't care about Duke football.
I'm just saying it felt like an attack that you didn't.
Is Darian Mincy going to transfer to Florida and follow
Probably.
Was Coach K there? Was he on the sideline?
Yeah, right. Coach K was there. He was there.
Did they slap the turf on defense?
They did.
Is that something
they sure as hell did, baby. Let's go. But no, I think the weirdness with Notre Dame, for me, like, I think the committee got to a point where they're like, okay, it's going to be way easier for us to explain whatever we did by having Notre Dame over Miami and letting Miami in than it is to let Notre Dame in and keep Miami out, because they physically played a football game. Those two teams did, and to not honor that one team won that game would be, I mean, that would be a slippery slope that I don't think we ever really come back from as a sport, to be honest with you. Or you just fully blame it on that committee and never let anyone in that committee be a part of another college football playoff committee. So
Yeah.
I think they were like, all right, we'll bite the bullet here. We'll piss off Notre Dame. And then they signed that agreement where, hey, if we're in this position again, we are guaranteed to be in us and UConn. So they got to be like, hey, it's for the independents, us and UConn, but really just us, because UConn's never going to be there.
What about the service academies? I mean, I've
They
seen
joined a
Army.
conference.
Yeah,
They joined a conference.
I mean, look. Clearly, Notre Dame hadn't been listening to Through the Keyhole over the years, because if they were shocked by the whole, well, we were just led to believe because of these weeks of us being at like number 9, and then suddenly we fall back. What? It's like, guys, that's what the committee has done even during the 4-team format era. OU was routinely like 3rd. They would beat Oklahoma State or whomever in the regular season Big 12 championship before they implemented the championship game. And it's like, okay, like OU is number 3 and they just beat the shit out of Oklahoma State. So, oh my God, you're going to play Alabama in the fucking Cotton Bowl. We're going to play Alabama in Dallas. We're going to get our ass kicked because Alabama is coached by Nick Saban, but we finally get to play a bowl game of that means something potentially for a national championship in Dallas. We've never gotten a home field advantage like that. And then the conference championship week happens. And it's like, okay, OU's going to go to 4 because we can't do that to Alabama. So you're going to go to Miami. Bye-bye. It's like OU has been pushed back, I think, twice when they went into the second to last ranking at a particular ranking, won their game, and then they just get pushed back because the committee's like, yeah, well, this is what we think anyway. So I'm sorry, Notre Dame, but like Peyton said, you had 2 playoff caliber games and you lost them. Your 2016 OU. I am happy that OU as an institution has the mentality of, not that they've ever really been in this situation just yet, of being, I guess technically they were in the conversation in 23, like it was OU, Ole Miss, and Penn State, and Ole Miss and Penn State both get in. I don't recall Joe Castiglione like bitching and moaning and threatening anything about, like blah, blah, blah. We're not, or opting out of the Alamo Bowl against Arizona. Like there was nothing like that. So I'm at least proud that OU has that mentality as an institution that, yeah, we didn't get the outcome that we wanted, but we should have beat Kansas and Oklahoma State moving forward. Yeah. So that's nice. Anything else, gents, college football wide?
I think so.
Not a thing. Well, apologies for the technical difficulties. Thankfully, we got Peyton on for the rest of the show. And like Peyton, I don't know if when you had to do the impromptu intro, apologies for that. I don't know who was near my garage. That was weird.
Big Keyhole fans.
Probably big Keyhole fans. But I don't know if you let the listeners know that Alan's not on the show tonight. So he's absent.
Someone's been waiting with bated breath for what Alan
Where
said.
When's Alan showing up? Yeah.
Alan has bad internet connection. Now, yeah, it is what it is. Sometimes you have technical difficulties. Sometimes people just show up to your house and you've got to go take care of it right when you hit the live button. So apologies for the start of the show. Hopefully you all enjoyed it.
Did you stand your ground, Brady?
I did stand my ground. Here's the thing about doing torso up, don't know what I'm wearing down there, but they sure do. No, thank you patrons that joined us during the show. Always appreciate that. If you're interested in doing so in future live shows, go join patreon.com/thekeyhole. You can be a free member for a month to try it out. But patrons get first dibs to our live stream access to the show. But of course, you can wait and watch it on Keyhole Sports, the YouTube channel of ours, or listen to it anywhere you listen to podcasts once it gets uploaded. But for the absent Alan Kinney, for the present Matt Burton, Peyton Guthrie, and myself, Brady Trantham, everybody, thank you so much for listening to Through the Keyhole. Until next time, boom, har.
Set up.